Thank you for auditing the Always Positive new music review show hosted by a French professor who is reviewing Gemini Rights by Steve Lacy. Now, this came out a couple months ago. I don't usually review albums that old, but independently, my 17-year-old son and my 14-year-old daughter suggested that I review this. It's always good to pay attention because it's quite interesting when they both agree on an album. So that's what I'm going to review now. And you'll have to indulge me. It's my birthday. And my message, my birthday message, is shut up, old people. Let me explain. So it's my 45th birthday, which means, statistically, according to the YouTube demographics, I am definitely old. Now, these are my YouTube demographics. These are my viewers. 92% male. Hi, ladies. And so, we have 37% are 18 to 24, 39% are 25 to 34, 13% are 35 to 44. But look at that, it cuts off at 44. I just reached the next stage, which means that only 11% of my viewers are as old as me, or older. And I talk about that, and I promise you this is going somewhere quite interesting. Because, I started this channel 4 years ago. 4 years and a week ago, right? It was partly a response to turning 41. Now, everyone gets upset about turning 30 or turning 40, but the real problem is turning 31 and 41. Like, that's when it's real. Like, when you're 30 or 40, it's sort of like, oh, this new thing has happened. But then when you get to 41, like, that's where you're just, like, in your 40s. And middle-aged dudes with dispensable income have a couple inevitable reactions. They do certain things, and you can't stop them from doing these things, and I am just as guilty. So different middle-aged dudes with different life experiences and with dispensable income do different things. I did the thing that you do when you had a band in high school, and I bought myself a vintage guitar, okay? I bought myself this beautiful Jag Stang as designed by Kurt Cobain before his death. You know what I'm saying? Okay? Like that's what I did. And ask around. If you had a band in high school and you turn, at some point in your 40s, you have to buy an old cool guitar, And it's cool, but it's also a little bit sad. It's also a little bit sad because, it's holding on to parts of my youth. It's hoping to connect to those parts of my youth, but really they're just far away, And when you're that kind of guy who buys a guitar in his 40s, usually you're hitting your boomer years. Now, I'm a Generation Xer, so sometimes I call myself, or I call people of my generation, Boom Xers, which is to say they're of Generation X, but they think and they behave in the stereotypical way of boomers, thinking that things were better in the past, talking about why things are bad now. Rock died with Kurt Cobain, rap died when 50 Cent made it onto the charts. When I were young, things were better, and other such thoughts that lead to fascism. Like when you're in that state, and when it comes to new music, you just have to hope that the music you liked as a young person ages gracefully. You have to hope that Radiohead keeps coming out with great albums. You have to hope that Jay-Z's 444 is as good as The Blueprint, right? Like, that's the kind of situation that you're in. So when I turned 41, I had these two competing instincts. One was this very, retrograde instinct to buy a guitar and be an old man who's just waiting for the sweet embrace of death. And then the other part of me was kicking against it and started this channel. Because I was aware that the number one ailment of aging is rigidity. Physical rigidity. My back hurts. My back does hurt. Thank you, body. This morning I woke up and my back hurt. Why? Because I went to sleep. Okay? That's one form of rigidity. I need to do more stretching, more yoga, etc. And then there's really the mental rigidity. And that's what leads you to think that rock and roll died with Kurt Cobain. So I started this channel partly to answer the question, is music good? Is it still as good? Is it as bad as I fear that it is because I'm not paying attention? So to the 89% of you who are young, I often refer to myself as the Rip Van Winkle of music. I went to sleep in 2002, and I woke up in 2018 with this channel. And that's why, I never listened to a Steve Lacy album before this. So much of the music I review is music that everybody knows, but I just wasn't paying attention. But I have a new way to describe myself, and this is to that magical 11% of you. Feel free to comment if you're a part of that 11% who are as old as me or older. I am a time traveler. And I have traveled to the present. And I am here to tell you what it's like. I have so many things to share with you. I have been to the present, and I can tell you, you need not despair. You need not worry. Music is strong. Music is as good as it's ever been. Much of what you miss has never left. It has changed shape and changed form and changed medium and changed distribution methods and changed the way it's consumed and changed the way it is ingested and changed the way it is reacted to, but it is still there. Human genius has not disappeared off of planet Earth just because Kurt Cobain shot himself in the face. It persists, and you can tell it persists by musicians like Steve Lacy, who's a musician, a performer, a songwriter. He's good with the hippers and the hoppers, and he makes good rock and roll music, and he makes good R&B music. He's catchy, but he has a very personal, genuine vision. He makes an album which is largely a vibe, which is what all those brain-dead young people seem to like so much, but at the same time, it's filled with great pieces of music, great sections, great musicianship, great composition, interesting modularity of the production. It is ageless, sexless, raceless, genreless, while also being young, bisexual, black, and genreless. Part of why I really wanted to do this video today, obviously it's my birthday and I'm thinking about the bitter embrace of death, and I'm thinking about aging and all that, but it's the way this music came to me. Like, this music arrived to me through what I consider to be the 4 horsemen of the musical apocalypse. Now, these are not actually the 4 horsemen of the musical apocalypse. They are the 4 horsemen of the musical apocalypse as seen by boomers and Xers and boom Xers like myself. These 4 things which we don't understand but are fairly certain are wrong and destroying music. What are those 4 things that brought Steve Lacy to my ears? Number 1, young people. My kids told me that I should listen to it. But how did they hear it? The second horseman of the musical apocalypse is the algorithm. Used to be, in my day, you didn't have an algorithm, you had an older brother who told you what was cool. You had the guy at the record shop who told you what was cool. You had the radio and you had to hope to hear something and hope to find it at the record store to find out what was cool. You didn't have some computer making predictive opinions of what you would like, but that's what happened. My daughter was listening to, I don't know, Carpet Garden and Rex Orange County and certain kinds of like bedroom rock, pop, R&B, whatever, and this music popped up to her. So that's the second horseman of the apocalypse, this algorithm. And it's very connected to the third horseman of the apocalypse, streaming services. Everything's on demand. Nothing is tangible. Everything is non-fungible and nothing is a token. Everything is just totally out there and nothing means anything. And the second time she heard this music, the first time was through an algorithm. Second time, it was a commercial on Spotify. So the major label that owns this, that promotes this artist, that controls this artist's catalog and everything, paid to have it advertised on Spotify. I mean, how many devils, how many pale riders, red riders, white riders do we have of the apocalypse until we get to the 4th horseman of the musical apocalypse? And this is the worst. This is the pale rider. This is death. Death, famine, war, conquest. This is the death part. This is what's really going to kill us. The tick-tock. So my daughter came to this music through the algorithm and through streaming. My son came to it through TikTok. He heard the song over and over again, many different ways, many different times on TikTok, and decided that he liked it and that he needed to tell me to listen to it. So, all of these reasons are reasons that were I not as flexible in my thinking as I have forced myself to become, were I not unnaturally unrigid when it comes to listening to new music, I would have discounted this and dismissed this on those grounds. By the way, I did. They told me to do this a couple weeks ago. I listened to like one song. I was like, TikTok, TikTok. That's like the majority of dudes in their 40s. Ask them about music and TikTok, they go, TikTok, TikTok. But I listened to it again. and it's good. I have traveled to the present, and I can tell you that this is good. Not only is it good, it is a harbinger of good news. It is evidence that this system, which the funny thing is, when I came back from the My Chemical Romance concert in Toronto last week, my daughter and my son had a whole argument about TikTok and about the way music is listened to. And my son was saying that it's bad, and my daughter was saying that it was good. Or the other way around. I don't even remember. But they were having this whole kind of discussion, you know? But I can tell you that this is a good omen because the music is so good and still hits so hard with this young group of scattered demographics. So, when I was listening to this, I was like, this reminds me of something. Like, what does this remind me of? There's something that this is like almost a ripoff of. Now, it reminded me a lot of Eve Toomer, who I just absolutely adore, in its sort of ambiguous, sexual, guitar-led, African-American, but sort of alienated in American culture for their position as an African-American, but then alienated in African-American culture for their position to sexuality, kind of like DIY glam sort of stuff, but not really. I mean, I was trying to listen to it, you know, like all these like unexpected and interesting parts, very complex. What is it like, you know? Like, it's sort of like Prince at times in that same way, you know, in that same way. Sort of like Rex Orange County or Carpet Garden that my daughter likes so much. And then I did the least amount of research I could possibly do. And I looked up what are his other credits. And it locked in. Pride by Kendrick Lamar. This song sounds exactly like Pride by Kendrick Lamar. Steve Lacy is a ripoff of Kendrick Lamar's song Pride. I'm joking, of course, because Steve Lacy wrote the song Pride. It sounds like Steve Lacy because it is Steve Lacy. It's like saying that Daft Punk ripped off Chic because they use Nile Rodgers. Okay, like that's just the way that it is. So that really helped me to understand where I felt like I'd heard it before, because it sounds very interesting and unique and new on the Kendrick Lamar album Damn. But really, it's just Steve Lacy's style. Now, mixed in with all this great musicianship is a virtuosic voice. Is that a word? Is virtuosic a word? Virtuositinal? He has a virtuosity in his voice, which he hides. He hides it all the time. Sometimes he'll just sound like rough. I believe I even used the word Dinosaur Jr. at some point in my review. You know, like he just sort of hides it, and then he'll just bring it out of nowhere. And then what is he singing? Just very relatable songs about heartbreak, primarily about the perils of vulnerability. I think this is probably why he's relating so much to the young people. It's about the pain of vulnerability and what happens when you allow yourself to be vulnerable and what are the consequences. Now, one of the big arguments that my kids was having about TikTok. Oh, by the way, smash the like bucket. Okay, do it for my birthday. Okay, smash the like bucket and leave a comment for my birthday. I need to remind you that I read every comment. I don't respond to all of them, but I read them all. And every single time I get a comment, it makes me happy. 100% of the time. Even when they're like haters and they're like, that green shirt is ugly. Don't care. I love reading comments. And subscribe and all that stuff. But while we were having this argument about TikTok, and you can tell me if you think TikTok is good or bad for music. Feel free to tell me in the comments. I'm serious. The main issue is money. And that's the question of all these four horsemen of the apocalypse. Young people aren't paying for music. Spotify doesn't pay for music. Algorithm doesn't pay for music. TikTok doesn't pay music. As long as Steve Lacy never has to work at the Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf, okay? As long as he never has to work at Ralph's. As long as he never has to have a real job in his entire life, the world is fine. As long as he can make a living as an artist at this level, I think the world is okay. I think paradoxically it may be better this way. I think if Kurt Cobain were only ever as famous as Steve Lacy, he probably would have had a better handle on his mental health issues, and he wouldn't have been in the spotlight and so self-obsessed, you know? Like, I think it's probably good that people don't get as famous as they used to get, or as rich as they used to get. Now, it sucks that some knob in Sweden is getting all the money, you know. It would be nice if more artists had a living, but it's probably good that fewer artists are hyper rich. Feel free to tell me in the comments if I should have said fewer or less. I always get that wrong. I'm a French professor, not an English professor. So let's get to an example of this album with the song Buttons. Now you want to hear that song. You really need to hear. If you've never heard Steve Lacy before, this will give you a good example of what it is. Just click above the banana, above the banana, above the bananas, above the bananas. Okay? Just click up there and you will hear this song, which I think is a great example of the dynamism of his production and of how he makes music. So it opens up. First of all, you could say there's only two parts to the song. You could say there's only one part to the song, or you could say there's like 10 parts to the song. It's very interesting. I think it has that kind of bedroom feeling. I don't think it was made in a bedroom, but it has that kind of bedroom feeling, often where the different parts are comprised of different layers and elements. So the first part is like this Clockwork Orange sort of Baroque synthesizer-y Moog sounding thing that feels like we're announcing somebody at court. And then that leads into this very unsettling, slightly detuned groove with a hard open hi-hat on the 1, right? So if we do 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, it's this really hard tss, which always sounds good when it's done. Sorry, you hear the sound in the background. That's my dog Bo just walking back and forth. Okay, Bo, could you just go sit? Because it's very distracting to people when they hear you click clack. I need to cut your nails. Or the doctor and Mrs. needs to cut your nails. Okay, so really hard hits on the 1. And then this bass line that restarts on that same 1 that rises throughout the rest of the bars. Eventually, a guitar sound is added on that 1. So, wow. But as it develops, like this guitar starts to expand, and this is one of the neat tricks that he's able to do, where the guitar expands and stops being just on the 1 and starts being on the rest of it, and eventually some keyboards wash over. Eventually this guitar does these little tiny individual notes, and then it kind of modulates up, and then there's these keyboards coming down, and when he sings the words "Let Our Guards Down," which is the central part of the song, almost like a gospel style, like series of voices, and these little lead lines from the synths layer over each other. And then it goes back to the beginning side, except this time there's a little more synths in the background, and his voice at this point of the song is like stressed and exasperated. He's going through all these things, more kind of weird Baroque sounds in the background. Then the drums go out, and then it's just like that Moog sounding synthesizer or Moog sounding synthesizer with a guitar and like almost like a Stevie Wonder-esque voice. Then the outro becomes a harder, more distorted version of the verse, except it actually builds in a way that it emotionally gets you invested and it gets you psyched up. Still with this guitar line lifting up and then ending on the 1. It's such a beautiful, interesting song, all these different elements all coming in together. And then these lyrics of pained love. I fall in love with you, you show me my love in my room, went away, I showed you my love, and then we talked, let our guards down. It's all about showing love to somebody and feeling mistreated. You treat me like a dog, make her walk for miles. And then the thesis is, I will never not love you. I'm an old guy, so you look over there, and that is a complete collection of every single Smiths poster ever made. Okay? So, there's Bo, by the way. Bo, you want to say hi? So, I love the Smiths. And the Smiths are very important to teenagers because you need someone who tells you, I will never not love you, but also I don't know what love is, and I don't know if I should be vulnerable, and girl afraid, where do his intentions lie, or does he even have any? We need, like teenagers need this kind of stuff where we don't know how we feel, we don't know if we should open up, we don't know if we're dead inside, we don't know if we're alive inside, and it matters at all. You treat me like a dog, but I will never not love you. You treat me like a dog, you treat me like Bo over there, but I will never not love you. So, I'm a ridiculously happily married guy with an awesome family, so I don't relate to these kinds of feelings anymore. I don't see Becca across the hall in my dorm room freshman year and think, I will never not love you. But that's what I used to feel. I used to feel that. I didn't know how to say it. I didn't have anyone, so I had the Smiths. So they have Steve Lacy. Okay, I'm going to do the rest of the album a little bit quicker. Starts off with the song Static. This is why I got a little bit out of the album when I first listened to it. It's cool, kind of a piano, synth-based song. But then it's all about, like, I thought he was going to be like a whole, like a Weeknd kind of guy, you know? Because it's like, you got something in your nose. Have you been sniffing K? Are you in a deep hole? So I'm like, is this just going to be all about, like, doing drugs and being bad? But this is the only song about doing drugs. And it's interesting because this is where his bisexuality like shows right off the bat, like saying, I'm tired of the boys, or I'm tired of boys, I want to be with you. The whole album seems to have this real easy back and forth between love songs for men. It seems actually, and I don't know, tell me, I am not a Steve Lacy expert, it seems as though the songs about men are exclusively sexual, and then the songs about women are exclusively romantic? Maybe that's my bias. Probably that's my bias showing. But that's kind of the sense I get. But still, just he starts off and his voice sounds so rough, but then it gets smooth, and then he stops it with a cough, and there's all this great guitar work. Like it's great to have someone with such great pop sensibility who also just plays guitar, not playing a jag stang, definitely playing a Strat. I can hear that. And then I listen to the lyrics more and I realize it's actually kind of a moralizing song. It's talking about this person who can't feel anything, like who buys sex toys and can't feel them, and does drugs and can't feel it, and has this void and can't feel it. So it's actually more of a realistic song. And it sets the tone perfectly for the rest of the album. Next song is Helmet. I will say, the funny thing is, no, I'll say that later. I don't edit my videos, so you're just going to have to deal with that mistake. You can also buy my merch on Spring. You can buy a Professor Skye mug. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Only 10 people have bought one so far, so you can be one of the first 20 people to buy that. I sell so little merch. I don't know what's wrong with my merch. I mean, I do. I don't put enough thought into it. But I think that's, like, cool. That, like, I do it kind of, like, DIY style. But the audience says maybe have someone else DI. So Helmet, starts off with this like oh, and then bass and tambourine, very rough sounds. Like the voice is very heavy in the front, kind of this like very hard Stratocaster guitar line. And this definitely has this feeling of a vibe. That's the feeling I keep coming back to, that part of the way to relate to kids is to make songs that has an atmosphere. I think this is necessary because of the amount of input that young people are exposed to, the amount of screens and sounds and views that they have, that they do need music to help calm them down. They need someone to like sing them a lullaby. And so you need vibes. And we really have that here with a song like this, but that's also very upbeat and has lots of hooks in it as well. Like there's a whole la 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 part at the end. Got my heart a helmet. Goofy line! It's a goofy line. And then even at a certain point he says, I'll try to be worth your while. And again, he sounds like Stevie Wonder. I don't know anything about Steve Lacy, except that he's a guitar player and a songwriter, and he's done songs with Kendrick Lamar, and he did this great album. Because at times he reminds me of Stevie Wonder, at times he reminds me of Harry Nilsson, and at times he's just himself. This song ends with an unexpected donk. The piano goes donk. That's my analysis. Put that in that TikTok. The piano goes donk. Donk. Okay. Jesus Christ. Am I going to do that? I think I am. Check out my TikTok if you haven't seen it yet. Next song is called Mercury. Very epic song. So many cool layers. This is what I was going to say before. I was listening to this album with my wife this morning, and she was like, wait, young people like this? I thought this was music for us. And that's what's funny. I mean, like, you hear this song, it's sort of like bossa nova, Latin rhythms. It doesn't seem to be in keeping with what we think young people like, but let's go back and praise TikTok. TikTok it just is an eradicator. People hear something and they like it, you're just done. Just that song is big now. I heard that song, I like it. Let's go! Okay? That's what TikTok does. I heard that song, I like it. Whee! That's how it works. So, who cares if it doesn't sound like 100 Gex or doesn't sound like Kendrick or doesn't sound like Playboi Carti? People like the way this sounds, they like the way it sounds. Beautiful melody here. Just great percussion all the way through. Lots of cowbell. I need more cowbell. Lots of great singing as well. This very interesting way that he has of being subtly... He subtly flexes his voice constantly. I had that song totally stuck in my head. There's even a sort of unexpected, almost rap style part. And then there's times where he's going ba 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 with his voice, but then at the end an actual horn does it. It's very cute. The lyrics appear to be mostly about horoscopes. Listen, if you know anything about me, you know I'm not a big fan of astrology, but I put a lot of thought into it. And I don't care. Okay? Whatever kooky, illogical, whatever kooky, irrational belief system you have is good with me. I happen to follow Episcopalian Christianity, but that's goofy. Scientology is goofy. Okay? Horoscopes are goofy. Okay? Hinduism, Islam, Judaism, it's all irrational. So, that's going to help me, because a lot of new music seems to be about astrology. And I thought that we won the battle against astrology. I thought Carl Sagan killed astrology. Turns out he didn't. But it's okay. It's just goofy. Why not? Who cares? We all need to believe in something bigger than ourselves. And it's just going to keep changing shape. Then we get to the stamp buttons. And then we get to the song Bad Habit. Okay. This song is huge. I didn't know. I had no idea. This is the big hit. This is what prompted me to go on a TikTok exploration. I've been on TikTok for months and I don't understand it. But I believe my son when he tells me this song is big because of TikTok. I did a carpool with some of my kids' friends. I talked to them about this song. I talked to them about TikTok. Every single kid who's on TikTok knows this song. Millions upon 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 millions of kids are not going to watch this video, are not going to go on Spotify, are going to go on TikTok, and are going to hear this song. So this is what I did. And if you're on my Patreon, you can see this video. My goal was to do a 10-minute video of only listening to Steve Lacy Bad Habits TikToks. Because part of the problem with TikTok is I just don't know where to start. I don't know how to navigate it. It doesn't come natural to me. Okay? It doesn't come natural to me. So just limiting it to the biggest TikToks that have this song helped me to understand how this song propagated. So I was on this platform for 10 minutes. 22 minutes later, the video was done. Already I understood how TikTok worked a little bit, because I meant to be on there for 10 minutes and I was on there for 20 minutes. And I realized the joy of hearing the same 15-second part of a song over and over again in different contexts, like driving on some random highway in some Asian country, or a little kid in his bedroom slamming his fist on the ground, or some guy in front of a Kroger grocery store lip syncing for no reason, some guy in his crappy apartment, just you hear the song excuses to hear the same little bit of the song over and over again. And it reminded me of listening to radio when you know they're going to play a song you like and you have to get through all the bad songs, but you just want to hear that song, because when you're young, you love hearing the same song over again. You always love hearing the same song over again, even when you're not young, but especially when you're young, when certain songs hit you in a certain way. Ghetto superstar, that is what you are. Certain songs hit you, you will do anything to hear that song. And here we have different ways of just hearing the same song. And I have a conclusion. After my 20 minutes of listening to this one song, I have a conclusion on the value of TikTok. And I watched TikTok music influencers, reactors, recontextualizers, the whole thing. Okay? And there's a lot of good and there's a lot of bad on there. But the difference that TikTok did is that TikTok is great for music, but it's probably not great for the artist. Okay? I'm tempted to go into a whole thing about Roland Barthes and the death of the author, and I will at least touch on it. He emphasizes that perhaps instead of thinking about authors as being the important thing in reading a book, we should think about the reader, and about the reaction that the reader has might actually be the most valuable thing in reading. TikTok is more about how people feel about music than it is about the music itself. It is about the emotions that come out of listening to music. That's the topic of TikTok. So back in the 60s when the girls were watching the Beatles and okay, that was that. You know, my parents saw the Beatles in Carnegie Hall in 1964, I think it was, and that's all they saw. They saw people feeling music. That's all they saw. They didn't see the Beatles. They didn't hear a single note. I mean, they saw the Beatles. They didn't hear a single note. We are in this place where it is not about creators. It is not about artists. It is about the consumers of music creating, using their consumption. Taking the way they consume music and creating something out of it, which creates this kind of infinite loop of creation and reaction. And the original thing, Steve Lacy in his I think he's from Compton, so somewhere in LA, just sitting there, he made this song, and now all of a sudden there's people reacting to reacting to reacting to reacting. This is not what I personally like. I'm a big guy. I love Roland Barthes. I've studied a lot of Roland Barthes, but I actually personally don't think the author should die. I personally think I'm a structuralist, not a post-structuralist. I very much believe in the centrality of the artist in the artistic vision. But it is interesting to see the other side. I don't think that I'm right. I just know what I prefer. Another thing that I realized about this song and about TikTok music in general, and I've hinted at this before, but I think I've really got to it. Modularity is really necessary. So this song has all these different parts. Most of the songs have different parts. And the thing that I think producers are going to have to realize, if they haven't already realized, it doesn't matter how your song sounds as long as you have multiple feelings in the same song. If you have multiple feelings, you have modular moments in the same song, you can get the same song to blow up in different parts. So, I wish I knew you wanted me. I wish I knew. That's how young people dance. I wish I knew you want. Okay, that bit. And then, bite my tongue, it's a bad habit. Bite my tongue, bite my tongue, it's a bad habit. Okay? I'm such a TikToker. Like, those are different emotions and different feelings. One of them's kind of like badass and self-destructive. The other is plaintive and longing. And they're in the same song. So the song is going to get the hits for each of those emotions. So pay attention, everybody. It doesn't matter what the song sounds like. It matters how many different kinds of emotions it can elicit in young people. Okay? I figured it out. I cracked TikTok. You're welcome, Internet. You know, my first notes on this song, before I even knew it was the biggest hit, I thought it sounded grungy. This is the song that reminded me of Dinosaur Jr. But then at times his voice is beautiful. The acoustic guitar goes and comes back. And then at the end, there's this like super hard part where it's all kind of like distorted. There's all these different parts with different emotions. Next song is called Together Interlude, a haunting waltz. It's very nice, leads into Cody freestyle, just a bass line and this falsetto voice that descends. It really does seem to be a freestyle. He's like rapping more or less. Not really rapping, but singing away over a synth bed and a bloopy bass. This is what I'm talking about, like a sex song about a man. So, you know, the next song is going to be a love song about a woman, and this is a sex song about a man, like how much he wants his deep throat. You was handsome with a heavy dick, a cannon, you do damage, right? Now, first of all, praise, right? We need more gay songs, right? Like, the world is all filled up with heterosexual love songs sung by men. We've got all we need for eternity, okay? We could go around the earth 10 times and out to the sun and back with all the songs that are from the perspective of a male heterosexual lust. There's not enough songs about female heterosexual lust, which is why we need Megan Thee Stallion and we need Nicki Minaj to just keep going. And we definitely need more homosexual lust songs just in general. From men, from women, from non-binaries, from everybody. We need non-heterosexual love songs. The human experience is not adequately reflected in music. So, hey, I have never thought about someone that they were handsome with a heavy dick, a cannon that can do damage, but I'm happy that it exists because I can think about it. So the next song is Amber. birds, almost like a musical sounding song. I Wish I Never Met You. This is, like, based on the credits, this is most him alone. And this is a good example of the variation in this album, the different modes and moods this album has. You know, you have the sort of rock stuff and R&B stuff, and then this is like a crooner song. Again, reminding me a little bit of Harry Nilsson. Great relatable lyrics. Once upon a time, there were two lovebirds, one shy, one so not. They met each other at a perfect time, and one just didn't know how to handle it. You know, this is that thing where, you know, a lot of stuff on TikTok that I have seen, a lot of the reason why I Wish I Knew You Wanted Me is so important is because a lot of it's about your crush. It's about feeling that you want somebody and you don't know if they want you, which is a universal feeling, which goes back to the beginning. You know, Thog really wanted Wog and wrote love songs on a rock, okay? But, like, this shyness and this longing, it's very important. That seems to be the easiest emotion to elicit out of people. Now, I'm not going to be some kind of anthropologist saying, well, because of online interactions can be so passive and non-confrontational, that actually in the real life, meeting people and having to respond to social cues in real time presents difficulties and has resulted in people being more shy and less capable of discourse in real time than they are when they are texting each other back and forth upon the D's and the M's. Okay, I'm not going to be saying that. I just said it. That's called rhetorician. I just said it. Old trick. Study rhetoric. But definitely, whether or not that's the reason why, I don't care. But it is very true that this idea of him posing himself as someone who's shy. You know, he's a rock star with 1,000 tattoos who's performed with Kendrick. You know, but he's shy. Shy guy. You know. Again, who am I to say? I've got a wall full of Smiths posters, okay? Sunshine featuring Fushi. Stilted kind of guitar style. Again, more almost like rap style vocals. Sort of a song, sort of a jilted ex, you know, about how I was the best you ever had. I like Fushi's voice. I don't know if I'm saying that right. More kind of R&B. The album ends on much more of an R&B note here. Cool kind of Cool in the Gang, West Coast style synthesizers. And then this beautiful part. Like, this is a cool song because it has so many different modes. It's very modular, especially at the end. All these different parts, like this double guitar part that sounds like the Allman Brothers, you know? And just all these lyrics, you know, about being an ex and I'll still always give you the D. The album ends with the song Give You the World, which, hey, prediction, Al Green is going to be big on TikTok. At some point, some young guy with floppy hair and no socks is going to discover an Al Green song and people are going to go nuts. This is very Al Green vibe to me. A slow jam in the real sense. Very sexy, very sexual. Talks about not being anxious, but you can tell he's lying. Beautiful vocals. The best vocals on the album. Unexpected vocal range. Just truly, this guy keeps his voice hid. It's a beautiful, gentle ending to a very interesting album. So there's my review. You made it this far. You know? You made it this far. I'm hungry. My wife makes me 3 different kinds of pudding for my birthday. Bread pudding, rice pudding, and then the king of all puddings, grape nut pudding. But I'm still going to have a banana. And, oh, my Patreons. I'm actually going to buy this album because my whole family loves this album. So thanks to these people, they allow me to buy music. They give me money, and then I buy music with it. And it's on a major label. So, you know, I should be able to find it. I hope. Thank you. All right. Until next time, there's the camera.